The chat. Samantha and Finn had no idea who each other were, let alone know the other even existed. But both already had one thing in common. You see, they both liked to go into the chat of their favorite horror narrator on YouTube 3 times a week during the live streams. They both noticed their YouTube handles scroll down the screen chat after chat, but never really talked much. Finn's was Bear 18 and Samantha's was B12. After a while, they made friends with multiple people in the chats. Samantha was kind to everyone she came across in there, and Finn started to notice that, while Finn acted a fool, always trying to get people to laugh. And Samantha began to notice that too. Finally, one day, a simple hello broke the ice. And later on, Finn made a cute joke about Samantha's height, and that's all it took. From there on out, they talked every chat, getting to know each other, joking, a little cute flirting here and there. They were truly becoming good friends, with the hopes of something more. At least that's what they both wanted, but not sure the other was feeling the same way. The next few weeks they got closer and closer. Then came Halloween night, and their favorite YouTube narrator was having a Halloween stream. They both popped in the chat, of course, anxiously waiting to talk to one another. Finn saw that B12 name pop up on the screen and said hello. Samantha saw that Bear 18 pop up and said hello also. For over an hour they talked, flirting back and forth, having a good time. But after a few comments back and forth, Finn noticed another name in the chat start saying some strange things. Now these comments weren't directly directed at them, but it did seem like this person was making strange remarks after one of them made a comment to the other. But Finn shrugged his shoulders and didn't give it a second thought, and went back to talking with Samantha. The stream continued on, and Finn asked Samantha where she lived. She replied Salem, Massachusetts, and Finn said, "No shit, so do I." Not long after that, though, a chat name popped up, called the Sheriff, and it typed, "Wow, you too, so do I." Both noticed it but didn't say anything, because once again it wasn't directed at them. The stream was now coming to a close, but Samantha and Finn were having such a great time they didn't want it to end. So since they lived in the same place, they decided to spend Halloween night together and meet up in front of a restaurant. They didn't want other people to know in the chat where they were meeting up, just in case. So Finn told Samantha to meet him over in the comments section on a video of another YouTuber they both listened to, and they would discuss where to meet there. But before they left, they saw a comment pop up, say, "I'll see you there soon," from the Sheriff. Finn definitely saw it, but didn't want to say anything to Samantha and frighten her. They both went over and discussed what restaurant to meet in front of. It was a place called Dia de los Muertos, a great Mexican restaurant they both liked going to, but had no idea the other did as well. They both said goodbye and agreed to meet each other there in an hour. Finn got dressed and left 30 minutes later. As he approached the restaurant, he got a notification on his phone saying someone liked and had left a comment on your post. Well, Finn opened it because it was the video that him and Samantha were commenting on, so he assumed it was her, saying she might be a little late or something. But when he saw the response to his comment, he stood and froze. It was a comment from the Sheriff. It read, "See you too at the restaurant. I love Mexican food. And happy Halloween." He stood there not knowing what to do. This definitely confirmed, though, that this creep was directing those strange comments at them. the whole time and chat. Finn continued to the restaurant, deciding not to tell Samantha any of this though, not wanting to frighten her. He got to the front of the restaurant, but didn't have to wait long. There she was, walking towards him, 5'2", long brown hair, with caramel blonde highlights, and a figure that just wouldn't quit. They both stood looking at each other, excited, kinda surprised the other actually showed up, but relieved that they did. Finn looked at her and said, "Samantha, is that you?" She stared at him and said, "Yes, Finn, but you can call me Sammy." He smiled at her and said, "Okay." Then they hugged and went inside the restaurant. They looked around and found a nice table by the window. The restaurant was pretty packed for a Halloween night. The atmosphere was dark and dim, people talking. Finn pulled the chair out for Sammy so she could sit. Then Finn went and sat down across from her. The song, "I Love You," from the Bees was playing. He looked at her and smiled. This night was already starting out just as he imagined it. They ordered their food, sat and waited, and chatted for about a half hour until the food arrived. A few minutes into their meal, however, Finn looked out of the window and saw a hooded figure standing across the street. He was in all black. Looked like he was wearing a black hood and had a plague doctor mask on. Now he couldn't be sure, but it looked like the figure was staring at them. Finn interrupted Sammy, who was beginning to ask him about something, and pointed at the figure. "Does it look like that guy is staring at us, Sammy? Or am I just imagining things?" Finn asked confusedly. Sammy looked out the window and over at the figure, but when she did, the figure raised his hand and made a slashing gesture across his throat, then pointed at them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was towards us. That's some creepy shit, Finn. I don't like it." "Oh, it's okay, Sammy. It's just Halloween. I'm sure that guy is just messing around." As she began to look reassured, Finn felt a vibration in his pocket. It was his cell phone. He apologized and checked to see who it was. It was another notification from the sheriff that read, "You two sure look cozy. How's the meal? Enjoy the rest of your night. See you two a little later." Finn's eyes widened from the shock, then turned his head quick, out to the street. There was nothing. No one was standing there anymore. Sammy could see something was wrong. Finn didn't want to tell her, but he knew he couldn't keep hiding this from her. He explained everything that had happened throughout the night, from the chat to the comments to now. Sammy began to get frightened. Finn could see her start to tremble. He reached across the table and grabbed her hand and told her, "Everything's going to be all right, Sammy. I won't let anything bad happen to you as long as you're with me. Now relax and enjoy the rest of the night." They finished their meal and left the restaurant. "What now?" Sammy asked. Finn then brought up going to the movie theater and check out the new horror movie. She agreed and off they went. It was just a short walk from the restaurant. They continued talking, and after a few blocks, Finn turned around and noticed that same hooded figure in the distance on the other side of the street. He leaned over and whispered into her ear that he thought that guy was following them. She tensed up, gripping his hand tightly. They could see the theater a block away in the distance. He held her hand and they began to sprint towards the theater. When they reached the front of the ticket booth, they turned around and he was gone again. They decided, since they were there and around lots of people, to still go inside and watch the movie. After an hour and a half, the movie was done. They both love horror movies, so they enjoyed it. As they reached the front door to leave, they were both filled with a slight ounce of trepidation, not knowing if the figure would be out there, waiting. They took a deep breath and walked out. They scanned both sides of the street. The figure wasn't there. Finn looked down and asked Sammy if she would like to come back to his place to watch their two favorite horror movies, Halloween and Scream, to end the night. She stared back up at him and said, "Of course, that would be a great way to end the night." Finn was relieved because he didn't want to leave her alone at her home with that strange figure following them, and Sammy was relieved because she didn't want to be alone for the same reason. Finn's home wasn't far from the theater, so he grabbed her hand and on they went. As they got halfway to his place, he felt uneasy, so he turned around, but no one was there. He turned back forward and continued to walk, reassuring Sammy everything was okay. When they reached his house and walked up the front steps of the porch, Finn noticed the front door cracked open. He froze for a second, but just figured his dumbass roommate left the door open when he got home from the Halloween party he went to. His roommate had done this before, and tonight was Halloween, so he figured he probably got drunk at the party and forgot to close and lock the door when he got home. He pushed the door open and they walked in. Nothing seemed out of place, and nothing was stolen. He peeked down the hallway, and his roommate's door was closed, so Finn started to feel relieved. He took Sammy's things and put them on the dining room table, while she went to sit down on the couch. As he was putting his things down, his phone started to vibrate in his hands. It was another notification from the sheriff. "Shit, you have to be kidding me," he thought. Finn opened the notification. It read, "I hope you two had a fun night. Maybe a little later I'll give you two a Halloween treat." Finn was done with it by now. They're safe in his home, and there was nothing to worry about, he thought. He put the phone down on the table, walked over and put Halloween on, then sat on the couch next to Sammy. Towards the end of the movie, they began making out, but after a few minutes, loud pounding came from the front door. They both sat up on the couch quick, both looking at each other with a worried look on their faces. They sat there for a minute in silence. Finn then got up and went to the peephole. He looked through, but nobody was on the other side of the door. He took a deep breath and opened it, and as he did, he realized he was making a classic horror movie mistake. When there's a strange knock at the door, don't go out and investigate. As he opened the door and stood in the doorway, he surveyed the front of his house, but nothing was there. But when he looked down on the ground, he gasped. There sat the plague doctor's mask that the stranger wore, and next to it was a note written in blood that read, "Happy Halloween, Finn and Sammy. Hope you enjoy the treat." Finn noticed that a blood trail went from the porch to the side of the house. He followed. The bloody trail led him to a side window that was open. It was his roommate's bedroom. Finn peeked inside, and what he saw horrified him, and he screamed out in terror. There in the bedroom, hanging over the side of the bed, with his throat slashed, was his roommate. And on the walls, written in blood, were the words, "Easily hacked, easily found. I'll be back." I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel for your overwhelming generosity. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories and poems to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness and Twitter at duchessofdark_n2. I want to thank all my listeners for your kindness, your encouragement, and your support. It means the world to me. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.